If you've heard me talking about finding Goldmine Airbnbs over the course of the last couple of years, then you've probably heard me talk about a software called Airdna.co. You're probably asking yourself, how much affiliate money is Blake making by talking about Airdna? I'm not making any money. They do not sponsor me. They do not pay me. In fact, I'm building a competing software right now that's going to be a lot better. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you guys how to use Airdna properly and take advantage of it, both on the free version and on the paid version, so that you too can find Goldmine Airbnb properties. So stick with me for the next few minutes as we dive into the computer and I show you my screen step by step exactly how I do the research process to find winning Airbnbs that you can both arbitrage and purchase. So let's start off with the free version of Airdna. There's two different versions. Obviously, you can buy the paid one. I pay, I believe, $6,000 or $7,000 per year, but that's because I have thousands of students that I'm helping every day evaluate properties. So I want to have more information. Now, on the free version, all you have to do is click sign up and create an account. So I've already created a free account. I'm going to log on over to the right here. And here's, you're going to see the front page of Airdna. Now, it really is a good software. What you see here is the market grade, the average daily rate, the occupancy rate, and revenue right up top. Okay, and so this is a demo market that we're looking at. On this left-hand side, you'll see that you can do research, you can look at smart rates, pacing, seasonality. We'll go over all of these tools in just a few minutes, but you as a free user only have access to a couple of them. The good news is the ones that we really need are available for use. So here we're taking a look at Santa Monica. Now, I just want to give you guys my criteria for choosing a property or choosing a city to invest in. This is very important. Grab your pen and paper out or save this to your notes. This part is very, very important. Now, the most common question that I get very, very frequently: what city should I invest in for Airbnb? Is there a top 3? Is there a top 5? Now, I invest in multiple different markets, and I wouldn't say that there is a top 3 or a top 5. In fact, there is more so a criteria that you can follow that will help you find the best cities and the best properties. So write this down with your pen and paper or your notes. You want to find a city that has an occupancy rate average of over 70% and an average daily rate of over $150. The last criteria that you want is you want to see at least 250 active rentals in that area. So in terms of occupancy rate, you'll see here that Santa Monica has in August a high of 86% in August and a low of 67% in November. That means that it averages out over the course of the year to about 80%. So some months are way better, obviously, when people are traveling, and some months are worse, like November, when people are back at school, it's getting a little bit colder and not too many people are going to the beach. What's important to understand too is you want to be in a market that has multiple active rentals. So anything over 250 for me is great. It's a great indication that there's other people that are in the market. It's not too small that you can't compete, but it's not too big or too crazy that you can't find a winning property there as well. So in terms of average daily rate, you're never really going to find a market that is too low of an average daily rate. At least I haven't found too many. If the rate is that low, if it's lower than $150, people are better off just staying at a hotel at that point. So that's kind of where we get those metrics. Now, the market grade is something that I don't find to be 100% useful. Yes, you can see here the seasonality and revenue growth and demand, but what we really, really care about is just occupancy rate, average daily rates, and active rentals. One of the things that I want to harp on before we start diving into the data a little bit and scavenging around to find these goldmine properties is I want to talk about how much can you trust the data from Airdna and trust the data from other folks like Rabu or potentially my software if you decide to use it in the near future. What you need to understand is these platforms scrape data from Zillow, they scrape data from Airbnb, they scrape data from VRBO, they scrape data from the city's websites, they scrape data from everywhere, and they come together to give you the most accurate data that they possibly can. Now, so far, Airdna over the course of the past couple of years has proven themselves to be a leader. Now, what you're going to see in a little bit as we start to dive in is some numbers regarding how much a property should make on average or could make on average. And you're going to ask yourself, well, how do I know if that's accurate? What if it's lower? What if it's more? There's two things that start to come into play here. Number one, if you really have an understanding of an area, like for myself, there's a couple of cities that I'm invested in very heavily in both Florida and Tennessee that I know inside and out completely. And I have properties there, so I have a baseline to understand how much the property is going to make me. If you don't have that, then what you need to start doing is doing some market research and diving deep on the one or two cities that you're really interested in and really get to know the market inside and out. How are 1-bedrooms renting? How are 2, 3, 4 bedrooms renting? Hell, how are the big monster 8-bedroom houses renting? really get a grasp of the market that you want to be in, because just like any sport or any other business, if you want to be the best, then you have to understand the market or the game or the sport inside and out. So for the sake of this argument, I want to take a look at a city that has a below average occupancy rate, but I want to prove a point that you can also find properties that will really make money in these markets. The point that I want to prove here is just because the average occupancy is lower than 70%, which is my average baseline for myself and my students, doesn't mean that you can't find winning properties in these markets. So let's use Memphis, Tennessee for an example. It's one of the top 10 most populated cities in the United States. It is not a very popular Airbnb market that you would guess, but there are a lot of Airbnbs there as compared to somewhere like Santa Monica, California, where there's a lot of restrictions. So as I search Memphis, Tennessee, you're going to see that your market grade is going to be NA. It is not available because you do not pay for the pro version of this service, but I'm just trying to show you guys how to optimize and use the free version. So the occupancy rate here on average is 58%. The average daily rate, $159, but they have 1,860 active rentals. That's great for us. So I'm going to show you guys in under just a few minutes here how we can find properties that are going to make sense on Airbnb using the Airdna software. So I just went to Zillow.com. You can go to Realtor.com. You can go to any website if you're in a different country to find Airbnbs. Just find a website that has homes that are for sale or for rent. So in terms of purchasing a property, I'm going to type in Memphis, Tennessee, click search. They're going to ask me for sale or for rent. I'm going to click for sale. Now, I'm going to tweak around with the bedroom, bathroom count or the pricing, right? You can change anything that you'd like. Also, the home type. If you're not wanting multifamily, townhomes, condos, lots or land, then just uncheck all of those so that all we see are houses. And then click apply. Bedroom and bathroom count, I'd like to have at least a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house because I know that this area is a lot more inexpensive than somewhere like, say, Southern California, for example. So you can buy houses for a lot cheaper. And the most that I want to pay for my house is $350,000. So I'm just going to zoom in here. I see that a lot of properties are located in this downtown area. And plus, I know this area pretty well since I've helped many of my students acquire properties in Memphis and other surrounding areas. So I'm just going to zoom in around Midtown and let's take a look at some of these properties here. So this house is for sale for $310,000. It's very nice on the inside actually, fully renovated kitchen. Looks beautiful. The things that I look for are the bathrooms and kitchens and a lot of things renovated because that's where the money is going to be spent. Now, if you're a beginner investor and you don't want to go in and do a lot of work to these properties, if you just want something that is turnkey, then the big areas of the house that we're looking for are both the kitchen and the bathrooms, okay? You want to see that those are renovated or at least somewhat new so that you don't have to go in and spend a lot of time, energy, and money fixing those. Now, if you're somebody that is looking for a cheaper property that is value add, then it doesn't matter how that looks. Obviously, it'd be great if it was in better condition and you get a better deal, but most of the time, you're gonna have to do a little bit of work and spend a little bit of money. So either way, let's just say that I really like this property and I just wanna see how much is this property gonna make me on Airbnb. What I'm gonna do is I'm going to highlight this address right here, 1517 Granville Lane. I'm going to go back to Airdna, and on this left-hand side, I'm going to see the rentalizer tool. Now, the rentalizer tool is going to be the key to letting you know how much a property could be able to make on Airbnb or any short-term rental website. The way that they acquire this data is through scraping all active Airbnb listings and letting you know how much other properties in the same zip code with the same bedroom bathroom count that look similar are currently making. So I'm going to click right here and click paste on my address, click search. I'm going to go back over here to see how much it was. 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom. So 3-bed, 3-bath. That's 6 guests. I've clicked update and you will see that this property can make on average $35,000 per year with a $239 average daily rate and 41% occupancy. So we already know that that's a really crappy property. So let's go plug these numbers into my short-term rental property income calculator, and it's going to tell us whether or not this property is going to be a banger or if it's something that is trash that we should pass on. So this is a calculator that all of my students inside of my program have access to. This has helped me acquire over $17 million worth of Airbnbs, and I use it daily, okay? Because when you find out that this property makes $35,000 a year, let's just say, for example, we know this one's already shitty. If it made $50,000 per year, how do you know if that's actually a good investment? Well, you plug in just a few numbers here, which I've already plugged in, like the purchase price and how much down payment are you going to do and how much is the renovations and furnishings going to cost. And we find out that our estimated cash for closing is $87,250. With a 7.5% interest rate, our monthly payment is going to be anywhere between probably right around $2,100, right? $2,095. Now, all of this other stuff I'm not going to change. This is in there. If you need to change it, great. But this is going to be like the furniture costs, the maintenance costs for the year, any management fees. I would be self-managing, so that's going to stay zero. All of that good stuff. Average daily rate on this right-hand side, this is very important. So you look at the forecasted revenue. Our forecasted revenue on this property was $239 per night with a 41% occupancy rate. So I'm going to type 239 there, and I'm going to click 45% on the occupancy rate. Folks, we find out that this is a negative 4.67% cash on cash return, but the big number that you're here for is how much money will this place make every single month? Zero. In fact, it would make negative $339. Now, let's just say for the sake of argument that this property turned out that it can make $400 per night with a 60% average occupancy. Folks, this would be a 49% cash on cash return. On average, the net monthly rental revenues would be $3,569. Okay, so this property would be cash flowing like a mofo, as I like to say. So it's very important that you have some calculator to go off of or something to be able to verify how much these properties are going to make. Now, as we go back here and take a look, the annual revenue and average daily rate and occupancy rate, are they going to be exactly that when you get the property? Probably not. They're going to be within a margin of error of a couple percentage points. Or could you add some crazy value that this software can't calculate for? Yes, you absolutely could. But in general, this is a very good baseline to go after. And this is how you use Airdna as a free user. All of the other crap you really don't need. I'll just be honest with you. I don't use a ton of the software stuff. We can go over it here in just a second. But the most important thing for you guys as free users, utilize this tool to verify how much your property that you're looking at for both rental arbitrage or purchasing a property can make on Airbnb. Now, I'm going to use one more example using a property that's for rent that we could arbitrage, and it's going to look basically the exact same. So let's try and do this in just under, 2 to 3 minutes. So I would go on to Memphis, Tennessee, or we can choose a new city. Let's choose a new city like Tampa, Florida. I'm going to type Tampa. I'm going to switch the sign from for sale to for rent. Click apply. No minimum, no maximum. It's okay. 3 bedroom, 2 bath, and home only. So I'm going to zoom in right here. And let's just see if we have any properties. Hell, maybe give me a pool. How does a pool sound? I like a pool. Must have a pool. Click apply. All right, so we found a home. These are very expensive. Wow, looks like I'm not going to Tampa anytime soon. A 3-bed, 2 bath. This place looks like it's in semi-good condition. Looks like people are still living there. They don't know how to take care of shit. Okay, and then they lied on the Zillow listing. It happens. It absolutely happens. Well, here's an $8,000 per year. Very nice place. Very old. Do they have a pool? Yes, they have a pool, and it looks crazy. Folks, never move to Tampa. That's what I'm learning from our research process right now. But I'm going to click copy on this address. I'm going to click paste over here and click search. And we find that this house in Tampa could be doing $513 per night on average with a 65% occupancy and pulling in $121,000 per year in revenue. Folks, remember that there's a difference between revenue and profit, okay? Revenue minus expenses is how we get our profit. So don't think that this property would be cash flowing $121,000 a year. This is simply the revenue that it could be bringing in, more or less. So if there's any changes that need to be made, which there's not, is a 4-bed, 2-bath that could sleep probably 10 guests, not just 8. I'm going to update. And so there we are. So let's go over to my arbitrage calculator. This looks very similar to the calculator that I use for purchasing properties, except you just plug and play a few numbers that are for rent, and you will find out if this is a great house, a bad house, or a banger alert, as I like to call it. So our security deposit is likely going to be $8,000 because our rent is $8,000. To furnish the property, it appears that the property is coming semi-furnished. Probably cost about $15,000 to furnish here. Let me go back here. $15,000 to furnish. So let's update that. So we know that we're coming out of pocket $31,000 on this property, and a lot of that can be used using business credit as well. So I just update the monthly rent here, $8,000. and I head over to my average nightly rate, update that to $512 with a 65% occupancy rate. And again, folks, we find out another house that is a bad rental rating. Boo. I told you, it's going to be hard to make money when the house is $8,000 a month for rent and looks like that. But this is just a great example of showing you guys what is possible and how fast you can determine whether or not a property is going to make you money, be a gold mine, or be a shitter that we're leaving in the trash. So that's how we go over Airbnb arbitrage properties. A few years ago, I was in your shoes. I didn't have thousands of dollars to spend on software. The only money that I could muster up was just enough to get started with my business, and then I borrowed a lot of business credit, right? So I know what it's like to be starting from zero. And I can tell you that there's a lot of tools and a lot of hacks and a lot of softwares out there that you can utilize and take advantage of to find winning properties and get started in your Airbnb business. I've coached thousands of students over the last couple of years. I've helped people find Airbnb properties all over the US and in 17 countries as well. And I'm here to tell you that the one thing that people get stuck on is analysis paralysis. So don't get hung up over using these tools and over analyzing properties and never taking action. I want to use this analogy for you. If you had two people that were passionate about basketball, one of them for the last 5 years has read every single book, watched every single movie, had every single documentary absolutely memorized, but never stepped foot on the court. And then you have a kid who hasn't watched a single video, a single movie, read a single book, but he's been putting up 1,000 shots a day for the last 5 years. Who would you rather have taking the free throw? In that example, you have somebody that knows everything but hasn't taken any action, and you have somebody that just started taking action. I want you to be a hybrid. You don't need to be one or the other. You now have a tool to find these gold mine properties, to determine what cities are going to be good, bad, or ugly to invest in. Use them, start finding properties, and actually go out there and take action. If you're wanting to learn about how to take even more action, I'm here to help you for free. I teach on my Instagram all the time for free. I teach on YouTube for free. In fact, I have a free class this Thursday. If you click the link below in the description, sign up. It is free 99, and I will just be going over in depth even more how you can find these properties and encourage you to take even more action. So if you're ready to get started with Airbnb learning, I'm here to help you out. I'm Mr. 4 to 8. We'll see you in the next video.